What's up, everybody? In case y'all have been wondering where I've been for the past 3, 4 days, it's been a while. Got into a car wreck on Tuesday. It wasn't my fault. Somebody plowed into me from behind, and that is all taken care of. Thankfully, I wasn't seriously injured. Spent like a day in a neck brace, but neck and upper back is pretty sore, but I'm alive. And that means that I can be here to talk about some very important things with you tonight, such as the fact that our doddering dotard of a president is probably not going to be around for much longer. No, I don't mean that he's going to be deceased. I mean that he's not going to be reelected. Like, what exactly has Biden done for the American people? He was elected simply because he's not Donald Trump. Um, Student loan repayments are restarting. He continues to shower money and weapons on Ukraine and now on Israel, which is currently in the midst of enacting a campaign of genocide against the Palestinian people in Gaza. So people are pissed. They're not going to back Biden again. And later on, I'm going to be talking about one of his rivals, somebody that wants to sit in his chair, Dr. Cornell West. Even though I don't like Cornell West, he still worked for that doctor before his name, and I'm pretty good at giving black people our props when they are due. Do I want to see Cornell West as president? Absolutely not. And I will explain why. Also, I joined DSA 2 months ago. So I'm going to be talking about how I feel 2 months into this organization. So first off, Biden gave this very stupid speech the other night. Let's break it down.
Hostage. As I told the families of Americans being held captive by Hamas, we're pursuing every avenue to bring.
I love how they keep doing this fallacy. Okay, like the Palestinian resistance is not just Hamas. They continue to mention Hamas as a stand-in for the entire Palestinian resistance because Hamas sounds scary. But like, they're pretty much every armed Palestinian group supports and has actively participated in the Al Aqsa flood campaign. So quit saying that. And they fold this into demanding that pro Palestine activists condemn Hamas. Like, first of all, why would we allow our enemies to set the term of our discussion? Like, why would we do that? You already lose when you cater to them or when you entertain this their nonsense. Do we support the Palestinian armed resistance? Yes, the fuck we do. Yes, the fuck we do. Hamas participates in this resistance, but it is not the sole source of resistance. So we have to make that very clear, and we have to just stop engaging with and debating with people in bad faith. Like, I called these people enemies. They are enemies. They would like to see the Palestinian people swept into the sea. I have a vested interest as a black person that is a member of an oppressed nationality in not seeing that happen. So I say all power to the Palestinian resistance. And if you are a leftist of any type, you should be saying that as well.
Their loved ones home. As president, there is no higher priority for me than the safety of Americans held hostage. The terrorist group Hamas unleashed pure, unadulterated evil in the world. But sadly, the Jewish people know perhaps better than anyone.
And stop conflating Israel with the Jewish people. Like, idiots like this and evangelical yahoos, like, they support Israel more than any Jew I know. Like, when you look into the makeup and composition of the anti-Zionist movement, you will find a metric fuck ton of Jewish people because they do not support the war crimes and genocide that is being committed in their name.
That there is
it's what? Not even 30 seconds in, and this man is already shit the bed. He needs to go to a retirement home. Like, he does not need to be in any position of power. He's senile.
no limit to the depravity of people when they want to inflict pain on others. In Israel,
the Palestinian resistance doesn't want to inflict pain on people. They want to stop pain from being inflicted upon their loved ones. Like, people do not just decide, I'm going to pick up the gun and go shoot people. Like, nobody decides that. You have to be pushed to that point. Like, you just put yourself in the shoes of the Palestinian people of Gaza. You were born, you're growing up in an open air fucking concentration camp. A hostile power can basically starve you, close all the border crossings, and not let you leave, inhibit your freedom of movement. They can shut off your electricity, they can shut off your water, they can shut off your gas, all other utilities. Like in the state of Missouri where I live, like a landlord cannot disrupt utility service. They cannot do that. But Israel can do that. Like they can just, you know what, fuck it, we're not going to let them have any power or water today because they've been banned. Like, can you imagine how fucking degrading that is? Like, people are pushed to that point. Imagine being treated as a stranger in your own land. Like, you could literally look over the border fence and see the ruins of the village that your ancestors had lived in for hundreds of years, which was destroyed in 1948, and now there's a fucking settlement occupied by people who want to murder everybody that looks like you or follows your religion. Like, do you have any idea what that does to a person's conscience, what that does to a person's psyche? So, of course, they're going to pick up the fucking gun. They have no other option. And for all these morons talking about, oh, peace, there's too, like, no, later for that. Later for that. Like, the Palestinian people have tried every available method of negotiation. They have been extremely patient. They've tried everything. Nothing works with a genocidal state. That's like saying that Jewish people should have negotiated with the Nazis. You cannot negotiate with somebody that wants to eradicate your people.
I saw people who are strong, determined, resilient, and also angry, in shock and in deep, deep pain.
Really? Who are we talking about, the Palestinians or the Israelis?
I also spoke with President Abbas, the Palestinian Authority, and reiterated that the United States remains committed to the Palestinian people's
No, it doesn't.
right to dignity and to self.
No, it doesn't. If you were committed to the Palestinian people's right to dignity and self-determination, you would be sending weapons to their mortal enemy.
Self-determination. The actions of Hamas terrorists don't take that right away. Like so many other, I'm heartbroken by the tragic loss of Palestinian life, including the explosion at the hospital in Gaza, which was not.
It wasn't an explosion. It was a literal fucking bombing. Somebody got up in an aircraft and purposefully dropped the bomb on the hospital.
Done by the Israelis. We mourn every innocent life lost. We can't ignore the humanity of innocent Palestinians who only want to live in peace and have an opportunity. You know, the assault on Israel echoes nearly 20 months of war, tragedy, and brutality inflicted on the people of Ukraine.
The Palestinian struggle does not have any parallels to Ukraine. Should Russia have invaded Ukraine? Absolutely not. I'm a communist. Communists literally oppose all unjust wars. And a textbook example of an unjust war is a large country invading a small country. Do I think that the Ukrainian military is full of nothing but Nazis? No. I'd wager that the vast majority of them are people who want to defend their homeland against a foreign invader. That is their right. If you don't want to get shot, do not invade other people's countries. But at the same time, like, you cannot compare Ukraine to Palestine. Like, there's really no comparison there. You're just making, like, if Ukraine is Palestine, then we should be sending weapons and money to the Palestinians, which is something that I am wholeheartedly in support of. I would vote for Joe Biden if that was his line. Like, if we're going to send missiles and weapons and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to Palestine, I would support him. I would vote for him. I would be his most fervent campaigner, but that's not going to happen.
People that were very badly hurt since Putin launched his all-out invasion. We've not forgotten the mass graves, the bodies found bearing signs of torture, rape used as a weapon by the Russians, and thousands of Ukrainian children forcibly.
This is Orientalism par excellence. Like, I don't know if you all have like studied the history of Western engagement with Russia, but I think it was Richard Nixon who said that like Russians are literally Asiatics, like they are a foreign barbarous race. Like, that's what this immediately reminded me of. Rape used as a weapon.
Taken into Russia, stolen from their parents. It's sick. Hamas and Putin represent different threats, but they share this in common. They both want to completely annihilate a neighboring democracy, completely annihilate it.
Israel is not a fucking democracy. Here's the thing. I said this on Twitter last night. Israel cannot afford to be a democracy. Like, their thinking is that if they granted full democratic and civil rights to the Palestinians would take over. This is the exact same reason why they would not let my ancestors vote, because they were afraid of what they would call Negro rule. They were afraid that we would take over and carry out Reconstruction. The Boers did not let black people vote or participate in democratic and political life in apartheid South Africa for the same reason. Like, settler colonial states that still have a large number of colonized people living within their borders are not democracies. They feel that they cannot be democracies. They don't even allow democracy in Israel to the settlers. Like, you look at video from Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, like, you've got Israeli citizens being brutalized by the police for criticizing their government's prosecution of this unjust war. 70% of Palestinians blame Netanyahu for this bullshit. I said 70% of Palestinians. 70% of Israelis blame Netanyahu and his government for this bullshit. 100% of Palestinians blame Netanyahu for this bullshit. But yeah, like, settler colonies are not democracies. You have this asshole that nobody likes that's president of the United States. Like, this country is not a democracy. This country is not a democracy. It's not. People that look like me still have to walk in fear and trepidation when the police are around, because we don't know if this is a racist asshole that's going to blow our heads off. That is not democratic. That's a police state.
Hamas' stated purpose for existing is the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of Jewish people. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas uses Palestinian civilians as human shields, and innocent Palestinian families are suffering greatly because of them. Meanwhile, Putin denies Ukraine has or ever had real statehood. He claims the Soviet Union created Ukraine. And just 2 weeks ago, he told the world that if the United States and our allies withdraw, and if the United States withdraw, our allies will as well, military support for Ukraine would have, quote, a week left to live, but we're not withdrawing. I know these conflicts can seem far away, and it's natural to ask, why does this matter to America? So,
the majority of your people do not want to be dragged deeper and deeper and deeper into a proxy war with the Russians. The majority, well, not the majority, but a substantial chunk of the American people do not want to keep funding Israel's genocidal bullshit. Okay, like, I saw a poll the other day. A fairly close margin of Democrats actually support sending humanitarian aid to Palestinians. Is that long live the Intifada, long live the martyrs, and the shaheed of the glorious Palestinian resistance? No. But it's a start. It's showing that people are questioning this narrative that we are consistently force-fed here in the United States. So that's part of the reason why I say that Biden is probably not going to win re-election. Because, like, he's just so out of touch. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He offers no actual concrete leadership. He's gone back on almost every major promise that he made during the 2020 presidential campaign. Like, what exactly has this man done that is beneficial and good for not just the American people, but people all around the world? Nothing. He's just an empty suit, an empty head in an office that just so happens to have control of one of the world's largest nuclear arsenals, but I digress.
let me share with you why making sure Israel and Ukraine succeed is vital for America's national security. You know, history has taught us that when terrorists don't pay a price for their terror, when dictators...
America is the world's biggest sponsor of terrorism and dictatorship. I'm sorry. I can't watch this man anymore. He makes me physically ill. I felt better after getting in a fucking car wreck than I did after listening to 2 minutes of that shit. So, remember last week I talked about false bullshit media narratives? Well, certain reporters who are responsible for the proliferation and the growth of these bullshit anti-Palestinian Islamophobic narratives are getting their comeuppance.
So, all right.
This is in Ramallah on the West Bank.
You are genocide supporters. You are not welcome here. Genocide supporters. Fuck CNN. Fuck CNN.
This kind of reminds me of during the protest season. See, I'm from St. Louis. We have protest seasons. Like, we may let a few cop shootings go untreated, so to speak, but like eventually we're going to throw the fuck down. So 2017, officer who murdered a black man, Jason Stockley was the cop's name. He was found not guilty. So the city had several weeks of protests. And this reminds me of when protesters literally grabbed a Channel 4, I think it was, news reporter and physically escorted him out of the protest. Because like he was just there talking the same old Republican bullshit. Like, oh, you guys out here to do violence and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the thing. Like, we do not have to condemn anybody because that is not what we're here for. That is not what we're here for. We're not here to cater to your bullshit narrative. We are not here to engage in a debate with you. It's either, are you on the side of right and justice, or are you on the side of wrong and genocide? You have two choices. There is no nuance. There is no both sides. There is no nothing. The exact way that these people are acting now is how they would have acted during the uprisings against slavery. They would have acted the same way during the civil rights movement. They would have responded in the exact same way to the Black Panthers as they do to the Palestinian resistance that they so erroneously and stupidly and purposefully refer to with a broad brush as being almost universally Hamas.
All right, you see that people are very angry. They do not like the way in which
they don't like the fact that you're lying on them and portraying them universally as terrorists.
CNN has been reporting the story. You hear that, but we're fine. But what you are seeing, because this is kind of where the...
If you don't want the people to respond to you like that, don't fucking lie. This is an Israeli influencer. And she thinks that she feels no commonality, no sisterhood, no kinship with her sisters in Palestine. This sort of puts the lie to bourgeois feminism, we are all sisters bullshit. Like, you have to consider in a settler colonial state, the settler contradiction, the land issue, takes primacy. That's what a lot of people don't seem to understand. Let's see what that says. I don't speak Hebrew or Arabic or whatever she's trying to speak. So
get ready with me.
But the actions that she's making and demonstrating kind of transcend language.
אז يعني دخلت כבר להתארגן. סליחה, זה בין העריסות פה.
So all of these beauty products that she's sprinkled powder on, she's basically acting like a Palestinian woman that has had her entire home destroyed and is trying to make herself beautiful, but she's using cosmetics that have been slathered with debris and other types of things. So she's basically mocking Palestinian women who are undergoing an intense bombing and attempted genocide campaign.
אני התחלתי להתארגן, אני רק אעשה איילנר ואז אני אעשה איילנר קטן ואז אני אתחיל לארוז אתכם, אני ממש מתרגשת, ככה לצאת לדרך חדשה. טוב, אז בואי נתחיל עכשיו לארוז. יש לנו כאן תיק ואני אראה לכם את כל מה שאני שמה בפנים. הדבר ראשון, את האיילנר שלי, ועליה טלפון, כדי למה לא, אתם יודעים, קצת לשחק סנקס. יש לי כאן פנס. וגם חשוב אני אקח מטען לטלפון, למרות שמהסיכויים יהיה חשמל, אין חשמל, לא משנה. מה עוד נראה לי שום דבר ממה שאני ארזתי לא שווה. פתח עוד לאוטו, גם לא צריך. طب حبريم أني خشبت أني أقعت لمسكنة شكل مش عني تصريخها زي تكتان كل حد صخبتي تكتان سبك لقى عن زرق تكتان كل حد صخبتي تكتان تك 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 إيه زي الشريف هني تصريخها ما زي سفر كتان حمود إذا حمود ترو مرة شو ملزة تلم تبع زني خشبت زي أو
So yeah, utterly and completely disgusting. But settlers are not renowned for their humanity. Confirmation that the U.S. military is a direct participant in Israel's war on Gaza. This was deleted by the White House an hour after being posted. These pictures are believed to be from the secretive Delta Force within the U.S. Army. So the U.S. military, not just the U.S. military, but the spicy boys, Delta Force, the big bad. Like when Biden or the people who pay him need like an issue taken care of right away, they send in these fellas. Not very nice people, not people you want to meet. So, not just humanitarian aid. They're getting ready to throw down. So, the main thing that I want to talk about tonight is Cornell West. Has he lost his mind? I don't know. I think he was already pretty far gone. So why are we mad at Cornel West? Because he took money from Harlan Crow. Harlan Crow is the same guy who has been basically bribing Clarence Thomas for years. Okay? He's a crook. He's also a Republican. He's an anti-Trump Republican, but a Republican nonetheless. Granted, Cornel West is not a Democrat, so there's nothing like inherently contradictory about that on the surface. But let's just read his response. First of all, like if you fancy yourself a progressive, okay? Like most of Cornel West supporters fancy themselves. Like you would have some semblance of political principle, right? You're going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to take this man's money. I'm not going to take this man's money because I don't support what he stands for. I don't. But Cornel West, he gave the money back today, but he's basically just been being a little punk about this all fucking day. This was last night. As an independent candidate and a free black man, I accept donations within the limits of no PACs, political action committees, or corporate interest groups that have strings attached. I am unbought and unbossed. Despite my deep political differences with brother Harlan Crow, why does he call objectively evil people like Harlan Crow? This guy is one of the biggest landlords in the country. Harlan Crow is not your brother. But he goes on to talk about how Crow is an anti-Trump Republican. I've known him in a non-political setting for some years, and I pray for his precious family. This just shows how divorced this man is from reality. I understand he has an ego, okay? Former Harvard professor. Like, people listen to what Cornel West has to say. But the thing is, like, you have to maintain your humility. Like you say, you're a black man. So why the fuck are you hanging out with this guy? Like, what exactly do you have in common with somebody like Harlan Crow? Then he says, I find it hypocritical for those who highlight his $3,300 donation to my campaign, but can't say a mumbling word about the PAC-driven $1 billion to support the genocidal attack in Gaza sponsored by their candidate. He closes with his typical bullshit, I'm fighting for truth, justice, and love. Onward. So how do you fight for truth, justice, and love while running interference for somebody like Harlan Crow? Not only that, but you fancy yourself a progressive, even left-wing candidate. Why are you taking money from this man? Don't you know that leftists hate billionaires? Then he doubles down. How sad that perceptions so quickly triumph over truth in our decadent culture. Oh, this sounds like some Pat suck shit. This holds in our major catastrophe in the Middle East, where the rich humanity of Palestinians is rendered invincible. It also holds at home in the minor scandal. It's not a minor scandal. It's not a minor scandal. About Harlan Crow's donation to my campaign. He is a staunch anti-Trump Republican who has never forget collections of tyrants Stalin, Mao, Hitler, and many others in patriotic collections of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln. So you're denouncing Stalin and Mao. Granted, I'm not a Stalin fan, but Mao's my boy. So you're denouncing Mao while you're praising Washington and Jefferson, who literally owned slaves. Jefferson literally raped his wife's half-sister, Sally Hemings, and had kids by her. But this is apparently a paragon of American statesmanship. Washington yanked the teeth out of his slaves' mouths. Like, he didn't have wooden teeth. He didn't have elephant teeth. He had human teeth made into dentures that were stolen from slaves. So these two, never mind Lincoln's racist ass, who hanged, if I recall correctly, 38 Dakota prisoners of war who made revolution in Minnesota. So you got 3 racists, and you're too busy complaining about Mao. Does this disqualify him from contributing to my campaign? Most people holler yes. I say no. So you're in it for the money. You just want the money. Just say it, man. Just say you're a grifter. As a jazz man, what does jazz have to do with any of this? Like, Yardbird and Miles Davis and Charlie Parker. Oh, Parker was Yardbird. Anyways, they wouldn't like this. They'd call you a sellout. They'd call you controlled by gray boys. Among other weird 40s and 50s expressions. Like, they wouldn't like you, bruh. I listened and decided to give the money back to Brother Harlan because you were exposed. If nobody had picked up on this, you wouldn't have gave shit back. But I still state the truth. This man's ego is just monstrous. Muslim members of Congress face spikes in death threats. Wonder what Biden is going to do about that. Ilhan Omar says that people who claim to be from a militant group have been calling her and saying that things like evil things, like, I can't wait till our group sees you one day and I can rip your fucking rag off your head. I hope the Israelis kill every blank one of you. Another one called her a terrorist Muslim. Another claimed a vigilante group spying on the congressman and your children had obtained all your addresses and handed them out to rapists. They've also been harassing Rashida Tlaib. And instead of, like, defending their colleague, you got people like Bobert and MTG, who notoriously had a picture with Code Pink last month, have been calling them the Hamas caucus, and the official campaign arm of House Republicans has labeled the pair Hamas spokesperson. So, yeah, never mind Jim Bro Fetterman, who, like, I was done with this guy when I found out he pulled a shotgun on an innocent black person who was jogging. Okay, like, I quit. I don't give a fuck what he has to say about anything. And a lot of the internet let that slide, but now they're talking about him because he is being a centrist. He says that it is truly disturbing that members of Hamas would take word of Hamas over members of Congress would take the word of Hamas over Israel after Tlaib repeated claims that Israel bombed a Gaza hospital. I think I hit my head too hard. Anyways, yeah. I mean, if you are a minority in any public position, you realize that shit like this is going to happen. People are going to be fucking with you. But, like, I can't imagine how, like, surreal it is. Like, you're an elected official and people are calling, threatening you, and saying obscene things. Like, children are supposed to be sacred. You're not supposed to touch people's kids. But here we go. Like, here we fucking go. Like, the level of political discourse in this country, like, you have people that have gotten all of their knowledge about the Middle East from Team America World Police in South Park, deciding that they know every fucking thing, and are now sending out death threats to people whose positions they know nothing about. They know nothing about, like, what Ilhan Omar believes. They know nothing about what Rashida Tlaib believes. But They don't care. They just see Ilan Omar, who is a hijabi, and they see Rashida Tlaib, who is the only Palestinian American in Congress, and they go hog ass wild. That's why I did my famous quote about gun control. So, Jackson Hinkle. People have been sharing this guy's stuff. Don't share his stuff. Okay? This guy is a racist. He is a racist. He called for the two individuals who are running under the auspices of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, both of which are of Hispanic origin. He called for them to be deported. Granted, his little wing of the so-called movement kind of got into it with PSL people over a rally that PSL was supposed to have messed up a few months back. But, like, you call yourself a communist, yet you're calling for people to be deported simply because of their origin. So, just because a guy is posting a bunch of shit against Israel, like, Nazis don't like Israel either. Do we stand them now? Do we share their tweets? No. You have to elevate. Like, what the fuck does this white man know? Like, why are we platforming and sharing things from this white person? Don't white people occupy enough space in our heads as is? Like, why are we platforming these people? Why are we giving these weird-ass colonizers attention? Don't do it. Platform actual Palestinians or platform colonized people who viscerally know what it means to go through some shit. I mean, the guy's name is Hinkle, for fuck's sake. Like, what does Hinkle? I'm sorry, I can't even take the dude seriously. Hinkle. I think it's a Dutch name. Regardless, like, look at these people. Who would you support? Chad me or this soy-made motherfucker? I'd support myself. I like me. So, I've been in DSA for 2 months, going on 3. A lot of you all want to know what I think about it. I think it's good. Like, do I have complaints? Yeah. I think that the Big Tent thing, it's a recipe for some hilarious exchanges. And North Star Caucus needs to definitely be purged because they're smelly old liberals with one Hispanic Zoomer who's terminally online. But coming out of a more hard left Maoist milieu, I think they're pretty awesome. Why? Because, like, they actually do shit. Like, Maoists in these little small groups really don't do shit. They might go and hand out propaganda to people who immediately chuck it in the garbage can. They might go and, I don't know, volunteer at a food pantry and tell themselves they're doing mass work. There's nothing wrong with volunteering at a food pantry, but don't act like that it's going to lead to protect the people's war tomorrow. And, like, a lot of them are just fucking delusional. I still identify as a Maoist. I still believe that Marxism-Leninism, Maoism. Yeah, I definitely hit my head too hard. I still believe that Marxism-Leninism, Maoism is a good weapon and tool of analysis. But, like, most Maoists in the United States are just so fucking silly. Like, it's hard to take them seriously. Like, they have walled themselves off from all productive avenues of American political life and are proud of being on the fringe. In particular, I like the fact that DSA people, like I said, are actually about the work. They have been, well, I guess I should say we now, since I'm one of them, have, I think 100 of them got arrested at a protest tonight. And every on-the-ground movement that is picking up steam, you'll probably find a DSA member or two that is, that's working through it. So, very good at integrating into the actual struggles of the people. I definitely think that probably my main critique of DSA would be that we need to get elected officials that are members of our organization under control. Why? Because if you don't, they say embarrassing things. Like Shri Tanador. Like, there's no reason that guy should have been allowed into DSA. I understand DSA is not a party, but that's just embarrassing. And people from more hard left organizations, like, they see that shit and they decide that we're all full of shit. But by and large, I would give DSA a 9.5 out of 10, and I strongly encourage you to join.